reached a level where I was like running a team of designers, and I'll be honest, I didn't really enjoy it. Like I was putting out fires all the time, constantly dealing with like HR issues and stuff like that, and I was doing less and less of the design work that I actually loved doing. And I went freelance and went freelance to try and pay the bills, to try and find something, and ended up realizing this freelance gig is unbelievable. I love it. Like I love the freedom of it. I love working with the clients that I like to work with.
Hello and welcome to Finding My User Manual podcast. Podcast all about learning how to be human when no one gave you the instructions. My name is Tiggs Rice and I am an empowerment photographer based in London, UK. And today I am thrilled to be joined by James Barnard. How are you doing?
Hello. Thank you very much for having me. What's the deal with not flying me over from Australia to be live and in person in your studio like all your other guests?
You are so welcome. When next time you're over, we should absolutely, I feel like we're going to be talking for a while anyway. I reckon there is a round two, but believe me, if I could have got you over here, if we had the budget, absolutely you would have been here.
Next time. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Bad delay. Go ahead.
That's fine. You're currently on Australia, aren't you? You've set your studio up over there now.
Yeah, that's why we have a bit of a delay in the chat there. Sorry about that. So yeah, I'm on the Gold Coast right now. It is a leisurely 4 p.m. in the afternoon. I don't know what time you've had to wake up to do this. Is it like 6 a.m. with you right now? It changes.
It's 7. My alarm went off at 10 to 5,
so
10 to 6 in the morning.
Appreciate it so much. That's great. Well, yeah, I'm based over here now. My wife is Australian. I followed a girl from London and we moved over here 5 years ago. I just became a citizen, actually. So I now have dual citizenship. I did the test, went to a ceremony, waved a little flag, sang the national anthem in front of the local mayor, and I just applied for my Australian passport. So yeah, I've been here long enough now to call myself an official Aussie. But yeah, I try and get home as much as I humanly can. I think the last time I was home, I saw you, didn't I? We had a little dinner together. Sat next to each other at dinner.
We met at Adobe Max London, didn't we? And officially,
right.
Although I feel like I've been following you online for maybe a bit longer, and we will get into the whys and hows of that. But let me start by giving you a bit of a glowing introduction. So for anyone who has not met James Barnard is an award-winning logo and visual identity designer, educator, and international speaker, as well as the founder of Barnard Design Co. Passionate about creating logos with meaning, his portfolio spans everything from restaurants and events to retailers, local authorities, small businesses, and agencies, reflecting both creative range and strategic thinking. With over 15 years in the design industry, his background includes roles at the Daily Telegraph, Bauer Media, and Hearst Magazines in the UK. In 2021, he relocated from London to the Gold Coast, Australia, where he now runs his studio. In 2022, James had his first viral moment as a designer. One of his logo design videos hit 3 million views, and from that moment on, his life hasn't quite been the same. Having built an online audience of over 1 million people and spoken at multiple design conferences around the world, including Adobe Max London, which we've also spoken about. Have you spoken at Max US as well?
Yeah, I have, yeah. I'm on my
Phenomenal.
4th year this year. It's going to be my 4th time. I know.
Including Adobe Max London and Adobe Max, he now dedicates significant time alongside his client work to passing on his exceptional knowledge, raising the standard and supporting the next generation of designers, creating educational content that shares his valuable insights on design, creative process, and the realities of the industry. He's also the host of Designers, a global community powered... I had to do it. A global community powered by Adobe Express. Welcome. It is such a privilege to have you here today.
Thank you very much. That's very kind. Well read from my website. Nice bio. I love it. Yeah, that sounds good when you read it all out like that. Sometimes it's nice just to glance back a little bit and remember your roots and where you came from. And yeah, it's been a proper whirlwind the last 5 years. So much has happened, including that all starting from that first moment where I went viral. So yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And it's nice to chat to you again. I know last time we were sat next to each other at dinner and we didn't really get to chat too much. So hopefully we can iron out all the kinks today.
Absolutely. Well, let's start with the most important question and we'll see where it goes from there. If you came with a user manual, what would it say on page one?
I've seen some of the your former guests and how they answered this question, and my favorite was Tony Harmer's. What a legend! Anyway, look, um, I think I said this to you previously. Like, do not insert drama into this person's life. So honestly, if you come into my space and you make it difficult, you start gossiping or you create friction or tension with me or any of my loved ones, you are dead to me. You are gone. And I seriously, like, if I meet people and someone has me on Facebook and then there's like drama or there's some kind of like any time they've introduced some kind of friction in my life, that is it. I can't deal with it. I just don't have the time for it these days. I know it sounds a little bit pretentious, but I have a reasonably small group of people who are sort of close to me, and they know full well that I don't suffer fools. I'm a very impatient person, and I think that don't insert drama line would be pretty perfect.
I think that line absolutely deserves to be on a t-shirt. And I, for one, would be the first person to queue up and buy one. I'm, to be fair, also quite similar. I'm not one for drama. I try my hardest not to get involved in anything that doesn't necessarily need me. But have you always been sort of intolerant to drama, friction, or is it something that's grown with you throughout your career?
I think like the less of a sort of people pleaser I've become. I think that's with age. I don't sort of I don't have the I don't have a lot of patience for people that waste my time or that are that misbehave or I'm basically a massive goody two shoes. I don't like getting in trouble. I don't like there being any kind of trouble in my life. I don't like doing anything wrong. I've always sort of shown up professionally in my job. If somebody causes me problems or wastes my time, I hate it. I think that's probably the number one thing that bothers me the most is having my time wasted. Especially, I'm like 41 now. I've got kids. I want to be spending my time with them. If you waste my time by not doing your homework or not, working hard, then you're dead to me. So honestly, I think it's about, just realizing that time is precious and anybody who wastes that time, I just cannot deal with.
I hard relate. Time wasting is it time wasting is my biggest one. That I can be so patient about a lot of things. I don't know whether this is my autism, but I feel like I have like slow wait mode and I have long wait mode. So if I
Really?
roughly know when you're going to tell me something is, so I mean, you might say you'll have it by 5 o'clock, and I'm like, great, I'm in short term wait mode. If you tell me it's 6 months away, fine, I can deal with 6 months. But if you tell me it's at 5 o'clock and you don't turn up till 7, or it's next Tuesday, but I was expecting it like yesterday, like, yeah, for me, I really struggle with that. Really struggle with that.
So me being 6 minutes late to meet for our podcast today was absolute hell for you. And I apologize for that wholeheartedly. For your
No.
listeners, I showed up late to the podcast because I was in the wrong channel. Technical issues. And I pride myself on like my technical ability. I'm really good with computers and I totally messed that up this morning. So I really apologize. 6 minutes
No,
late is unforgivable to someone with autism,
you
isn't it?
are
I really
so you are so fine. Do you know, for those who are listening, watching, it is 7 o'clock in the morning here. It's 4 p.m. currently for you. But I'm not an early morning person. So I was convinced this morning, I was like, do you know what? Maybe we agree to meet in your Zoom chat. So I was trying to join into that one. And I was like, maybe I didn't send a link. Maybe I got the wrong day. I was convinced that you were showing up. So it was not an issue at all. No, you're
Well,
all
yeah.
good.
Look,
You're all
I'm not,
good.
I'm not a morning person either. I don't do well in the morning at all. I need to sort of slowly wake up. And there's something about Australians. it's like a competition over here for how early you can wake up and get stuff done. Like I go
Yes.
to my local gym. Their earliest class is the 4:30 a.m. class, and it's the most popular class. It's like a competition. It's like a bravado kind of thing. Obviously, they're doing it because it gets hot here, and like by the time sort of
Hmm.
9 or 10 a.m. rolls around, it gets a little bit too warm. But honestly, I feel like it's like a competition. People like it's insane how people get up early here, and I can't do it. I've been here 5 years, and I still haven't quite acclimatized to the early morning starts.
I've got some family out in Sydney. Well, gosh, about 10 years ago, I spent a month out in Australia, and it was incredible, partly because all of my clients were in a different time zone. So I could wake up, and you're right, everyone does wake up early, especially where we were, is around the sort of northern beaches. So they would get up, go surfing in the morning or go for the run. But I could guarantee that everyone would be awake before I was, and I could get all of my
Yeah.
work done, sort all my emails out, and then I'd get the rest of my day to myself. Do you still, 5 years in, do you still have that kind of balance in terms of working schedules? Or now that you've been over for 5 years, has it balanced out and you have to answer emails all day?
It's one of the hardest things about moving to Australia when you have family and people that you work with in the UK is the time difference and trying to stay connected to people. So look, I've always, as a freelancer, I've always worked like late evenings, and even when I was in like a full time role, you mentioned I got started in the publishing industry. I would usually stay late and work freelance in the office, or either go home and do some other freelance gigs to earn a little bit of beer money on the side. So I feel like I've always like burnt the candle at both ends, and I'm quite used to that now. The only difference I guess I have over here is that no, if I start my day like that early, no one's really still kind of awake in the rest of the world. So I will wait. I'll do my workouts in the morning. I'll chill out in the morning. I'll think I'll finish my workout at like 11 o'clock. So I was starting my day at like 11:30, which sounds quite leisurely, but I've got to drop the kids off and stuff. So the mornings are definitely mine. And then from the afternoon until 3 o'clock when the kids get home is solid creative work or whatever I'm working on that day. And then once the kids are down in bed by about 7 p.m., that's when I'll tackle a bit more work. So I'll do sort of 7 till 9, 7 till 10, 7 till 11, depending on how much of a sort of flow state I'm in. But yeah, I'm so used to working those evenings that it's kind of not really changed all that much, really. The biggest
Mm.
pain is getting on the phone with clients over here, and most of my clients are in the States, and so like East Coast, like New York, there are no hours in the day that cross over during business hours for either of us. So one of us has got to give. I've either got to get up really early or I've got to stay up really late to speak to the US. So it's a tricky one, definitely. It's a wonderful lifestyle out here. That's I live in paradise. The sun is always shining, even in the winter. Like winter's my favorite time of year. It's nice and cool, but the sun is still shining, so it's lovely. But the time difference is really hard. It's one of the hardest things to get to grips with. And also, just on a personal note, I've got kids and I want them to have a relationship with my parents, their grandparents. And that is one of the hardest things ever, trying to get them on the phone and to chat and to communicate during any kind of sort of normal hours. It's just an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, because I guess their hours are wildly different. Are they early riser kids as well? They got that Australian
Yeah. Yeah, my
genetics with it.
son for like 4.5 years has been waking up at 5:30 in the morning. I don't know what to do. We've tried blackout blinds, we've tried everything. It is brutal. So yeah, it's tricky, but such is life, such is the Australian way.
I want to hit on a little thing that you dropped in about 5 minutes ago, which was people pleasing. You mentioned that as you've gotten older, your people pleasing tendencies have fallen away. I wonder how much of that, because I hear this a lot in, it's not actually something we've talked about on the podcast before, but generally in my life, a lot of people I'm finding as we grow older and gain more experience, the people pleasing very much falls away. Did you find that at the beginning of your career, sort of in your younger years, where you were more of a people pleaser, and how has that naturally evolved for you over the 15 years of your career?
Well, yeah, I think when you're starting out as a designer, you're doing everything to just try and get work and taking on any job, no matter what the cost. I think, the people pleasing side of things is directly tied into how much money I need and how broke I am currently. And so if I'm like skint and I needed the work, I would have bent over backwards to take on the job, no matter what the budget was. And so I think that's part of it. The more confident I've become in my career and the more successful I've become, the more I can say no to projects. And I think it's a confidence thing, and B, it's a financial thing. And it's only come with like a lot of hard work setting up things in my business to make sure that, I'm attracting the right types of clients. I'm attracting the kinds of people that I want to work with and for. And if I'm skint and have money troubles, that's going to be a lot harder to do. So it's partly about like saying no to certain types of clients and saying no to certain types of people. But again, I've only been able to do that since this kind of success of this business has gotten better and better and better.
Were there any specific changes that you made that really made a difference, like in terms of processes within the business, or did you write yourself a list of, you know, dream jobs, or like how did that alignment fall into place for you?
So when my wife became pregnant in 2019, and up until that moment, I'd been like a generic kind of graphic designer. I worked in the publishing industry, but I worked for like the digital side of the publishing industry. So I had kind of both skill sets, knew a lot about web design, also knew a lot about print. So I had kind of transferable skills. And I always thought, being a generic catch-all graphic designer was the best way forward. I could, can get more work that way because I've got more skills. But it turned out like the opposite was true. As soon as I started to niche down into a certain area, the more clients I started to attract. And it took me the longest time to figure it out. While my, basically, when my wife got pregnant and when we had our first child, Elodie, little girl, at the time, my wife was earning way more than I was. She had a really good job. So I became a stay-at-home dad. And for the better part of a year, I was looking after this baby on my own, with my hand out at the door, like the housewife in the 50s, getting my cash that I could spend throughout the day, from my wife. And during that time, while my baby was sleeping and I was, dipping my toe into bits and pieces of freelance work, I thought, let's really tackle this so that when my daughter's old enough to go into childcare, I can hit the ground running and get a new business spun up. And so I watched all of Chris Doe's content from the future. I just watched every single video about how to sell myself better, how to position myself in the industry. And I decided that, logo design and branding was like the most fun part of the industry. So I want to attract more of that. That's the thing I enjoy the most. It's pure creation. And so if I can take all the stuff off my portfolio that isn't to do with branding or logo design, and then turn my website into this like SEO magnet for logo design and branding, then maybe I can attract a few clients and do some of the work that I actually want to do. And it didn't take long, honestly. It was something like 3 months or so of tinkering with the website, changed a few landing pages, rewrote a few things on the site. And at the time I was living in London and targeted the keywords freelance logo designer London. And within a couple of months, I was like number one on Google for it. And I got loads of leads from that. So it's brilliant. They weren't the most like high paying jobs, but it was enough to live on. And it's been kind of like gangbusters ever since then.
SEO is such a powerful tool, isn't it? Like it's one of those
Still
things,
to this day.
if I'm ever deciding that I need to target more, like lean in, focus, like the first thing I'll do is go to the website, have a look at how the SEO is performing. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's one of those, and considering as well, for the most part, it is something that is freely available to us. As long as you know what you're
Right.
doing in the back end of your website, there isn't much of a block really for anyone out there listening who might be at the very start of their career going, how do I make this work,
Yeah.
to
I
access
mean,
that tool?
it's slightly different now because you kind of have to account for things like AI search and, ChatGPT and stuff like that. But essentially, what AI is doing is scraping the web and looking for, whatever comes up. And if you can tweak a few things on your website to target certain keywords, you can do really well. So I looked on, some of those competitor tools that Google has, like how much search is happening for this current term and how much competition is there. I think it's like Google Web Search Console you can use for things like that, and it's basically ranking like competitor terms. And I figured out like freelance logo designer London had a very big search, like volume, but there weren't that many people showing up for it. So I just started targeting that. So I rewrote my homepage, put the words freelance logo designer London about 4 times in the copy down the
I was going to say
page.
3 to 4 times.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, there we go. I changed the title tag of the website to include those keywords, and then one little trick somebody gave me as well was like any any imagery that you have, make sure your alt tags are really, really good. And if you write things like blog posts, so I was writing blog posts on like Medium. Where else was I doing? Anyway, you every time you post an image to a website, link that image to your website as well. So the image linking and text linking from external sources was also a really good one. And then there's obviously things like meta tags and changing your H1, your H2, your H3 tags as you're working through your site. But it just takes a little bit of Googling to figure out what to do and a little bit of effort. It's a pain, so it's kind of a boring job. But if you do it well and you keep your eye on it, you can start to, really creep up those rankings. And it works so well for me. I've got so many leads from search. Not so much these days. It's all coming from social these days, but I still have a presence online and I still get the odd client come through from Google, which is great news.
One of the tools that someone recommended to me, and if I can remember who it is, I will credit them in the show notes of this. But there is a website / plugin called Keywords Anywhere, and you can
Right.
put that into
Like a
it
Chrome
works in
extension.
Chrome. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when you do a Google search, you have to put some money in, I think. But to be honest, the amount of credits, I think it worked out something like £10, $10 US, something in that region for an entire year's worth of credits. And then every time you Google with it on, it tells you what all of the search terms, related search terms, or how that search term relates in terms of flow of traffic in other related keywords.
Right.
And that, for me, was a huge one, because it's like, what are people actually typing into Google to find said search
Yeah.
term? So that one was a huge one for me as well.
There's also like, your content marketing as well. Sorry to waffle on about this, but if you can create articles answering questions that people might have that then relates to your industry, that's an absolute win. Like little things like what makes a great logo, writing articles about the 10 things that, you should look out for when creating your logo design. And then just when you get to the bottom of the article, check it out. I actually do this. And that's another way to get people to your site. Content marketing is just an absolute no-brainer.
Actually, I would love to know, and I'll share mine here as well. What is the best performing page on your website? I have two, and it goes between the top 10 lingerie brands for fuller busted lingerie, being in the
Yeah.
empowerment world. And the second one is an A to Z of burlesque performers from around the globe. What are your
Right.
two? Or,
Content.
yeah.
Do you know what? It's been a while because I do so much on social media these days that I don't need to do as much on the blog that I used to. But I remember like I've got a few posts that did really, really well. One was called "Screw Your Product, Your Logo is the Most Important Part of Your Business," which was like a totally like self-serving article. And then "Should I list my prices on my website?" That was another one that did really, really well. It was like an article about what happened when I listed my prices under like how much is it for a logo. So lots of people like to Google how much is it to design a logo or how much for a logo, and I put that all the way through the article. So that did really, really well. Yeah, and that's a whole nother story. But that was really great having kind of blog content on the site. But like I say, these days I do most of my stuff through video now, and your reach is so much further. If you can get to grips with using video, you can get in front of your eyes in front of so many more people than you can with a blog post.
So let's talk about video, because I mean, social especially has been a huge growth factor for you. Were you always comfortable in front of the camera, or was it something you've had to learn?
No, not at all. I found it really hard when I first started. Um, yeah, it's awkward, isn't it? Like looking down a lens and trying to talk off the cuff about something. It's impossible. I tried it like years before I ever went viral, and I was going to make him. I had this idea to make this show that was called "Shit I Wish I Knew About Photoshop," and it was like all the tips and tricks that I'd learned along the way, and it's going to be like this, really sort of. I even had a theme tune. I was ready to go with a theme tune, honestly. Like, and then this is before like short form video was a thing, like it was all like YouTube content and slightly longer. So I tried recording myself doing it, and I started talking in front of the camera, and I was like, and tutting and saying and and stop bumbling through my sentences. It's like, this is painful. I'm not going to be able to edit this down in any way, shape, or form. It's too impossible. So I was like, right. Okay, let's abandon that idea. And then years later, when I've actually got on TikTok, the way I managed to do it was just script writing. So because it was short form was a lot faster, it was a lot less. It was a lot easier to write a script of that length for like a minute long content. And all I did was I'm pretty good at writing. Right? I've had years of experience writing blog posts for my own website. So I just write out a script for a video, read it one line at a time to the camera, cut those clips together, make it really tight and succinct, and then add overlays over the top. And luckily I had a bit of experience with Premiere Pro and After Effects by this point. Like I was saying before, I'm such a generic graphic designer. I've kind of done it all. I did like Flash adverts back in the day, so I know about keyframing and the basics of video editing. And so I was pretty easily able to, start stitching videos together. Ever since that first one went viral, I've just gotten better and better and better and more succinct and more to the point. And my videos have gotten more and more, and it's just come with, kind of practice. And now that I've just done it so much, I've talked on camera so much, I've just brute forced my way into kind of becoming, comfortable on camera.
My journey has been very similar, actually. I am, do you know, for someone who grew up on stage, who volunteered for every Amdram performance, was in every school play, like was in the choir, I was in the sports teams, I was the one that did the solos in school assemblies.
What an
Like,
extrovert.
you could not keep me off that stage. And my public speaking career started very early. I was actually at an event. I was there for Wacom, actually, and someone had pulled out of a speaking slot, and they just went, "There's space on the stage. You're on in 45 minutes. Can you prepare a 45-minute session with Q&A?" So I was thrown in at the deep end, and I'm so grateful for that, because I think if I had had the time to think about it, I probably wouldn't have done it, or I would have worked myself up into some kind of tears
I
about
know
it.
what you mean.
And
Yeah.
TikTok, I love TikTok, short form. I mean, I hadn't quite found Vine in time to really enjoy Vine. I've sort
Yeah.
of seen it. I saw the Vine clips that went viral on other channels. But TikTok for me was a place where I went to joy scroll, and I had perfectly
Yeah.
curated this feed, but I never considered going on it. And then it was a couple of, Connor actually helped me, because I just didn't know what to do. I didn't what I wanted to say. And for me, it was showing up in video without using my voice. So it was all text overlays and
Right. Yeah.
doing it that way. And I remember Connor, our producer, is probably nodding along, laughing at me while I'm saying this. I did a couple of 2-camera pieces. Yeah, there you go. I prepared a script. Couldn't get more, like you said, more than one sentence out. And we had to do those videos with a single take for every single sentence I wanted to say,
Yeah.
despite
Yeah.
already knowing what to say. And it's, brute force is honestly the same for me.
Yeah. It's hard, isn't it? I know what you mean about like, I used to do that kind of faceless content as well, like, screen recorded stuff, top-down views of me designing logos on camera. Before it was all like pointing at the caption at the top of the screen, that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And then the second I got on camera, the second I started talking to the camera, it was instant success. I think it's my second ever video that I did where I talked on the screen. I got 3 million views on it on TikTok. And it was honest, it was massive luck, obviously. Like, it was the timing of it. But I was like, wow, this is working. Let's do more of this. And I kind of just got better and better from there on. But as designers, you should really be learning to present and learning to do your public speaking so you could get really comfortable talking to clients. And I always really struggled with that. And doing this social media stuff now, I'm the best in front of clients now. I'm so good at presenting. I'm so good at chatting and being engaging and kind of funny and being warm with clients to try and bring them on board. And then when it comes to presenting my work, I can do like I don't do it on a call. I do a Loom video and I record myself and I present my work with a video so that they can watch it at their own leisure with me like not staring at their reaction to see if they like the work or not. But it's made me so much better at presenting, having done all this social media work. So it's just like a training wheel for actually presenting to clients. It's really helped me.
Do you think that creatives underestimate how much their individual personality matters within the industry?
I think so. I mean, look, there's that argument about on your social profile, should you have your picture or your company logo, or should you represent yourself as a freelancer or a mini studio? And I've struggled with this for absolutely years. Um, I found like people like to deal with people, right? They want to know who they're working with. And one of the greatest things about my content is that if you watch a few videos, you really get to know who I am as a person and really like what it's going to be like to work with me. And I think that says something when clients are actually looking to work with you and they can see a bit of your content and learn who you are, it really helps when it comes to closing that deal. So yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? Like I hang out with a lot of people who own agencies, and I'm always kind of jealous of them, having these really established companies and working with really big clients under the guise of like an agency with a team of employees. And I recently rebranded my studio here to Barnard Design Co. Um, Mainly because I've got a few different, plates spinning at the minute. But the actual client work, I still want people to speak to me. I still want people to know that it's me that they're going to be working with. And I'm pretty transparent about the fact that it's just me in this office and I do all my work from this studio. Yes, it is a studio. I can close the door. My kids can't come in. But, people like to see, what you are, who you are as a person. And I think like having that video content is really great when it comes to actually closing that deal. I know who you are. I know what you're like. They know what kind of person you're going to be like to work with, and that really helps.
I can imagine there are so many people listening to this that hard relate to that conversation. It is the unspoken worry of, I think, most of us as creatives who set up as self-employed. Like the room that I'm in, I call it my studio because I don't call it my office because I feel like as a photographer, I should have a studio.
Yeah,
The
right.
fact that I can't shoot in here, like I'm in a box room in my house. It is, I would say, I don't even think it's 2 by 3 meters. There's
Right.
enough room for a desk and a little bit of a backdrop. But
Yep.
you're
Yeah.
right. My limited company, because I set up as limited, is Tiggs Rice Limited, but it's literally my name. And
Yeah.
for such a long time, I've had that to and fro battle of, do I want to look bigger than I am? But
Mm,
actually, there are so many clients out there that value the fact that it's just me because they
yeah.
get me and only me and my attention. So yeah, it's
Tricky, isn't it?
wild sometimes comparing. I think comparison is such a it's the thief of joy anyway. That is the
Yeah.
quote, but
Yeah.
it's such a hard thing as a creative and a solopreneur, freelancer, however you think of yourself, to really place yourself in that industry without worrying about what other people are doing around you.
Right. Totally. I mean, like my job now is to be on social media and creating content, and I'm on on these apps constantly, and they do drain me sometimes when I see other people's work. I get very jealous of like the work they're putting out and the clients that they're working with, and then with that, you think, okay, if I position myself as an agency or bigger than I am, I'm going to attract bigger clients, but it doesn't work that way. Do you know what I mean? You can still get big clients as an individual. In fact, sometimes it helps to be an individual because there's less friction there and they can see your work kind of directly. But I'm the same. I've always kind of compared myself to others even as, recent as like 3 months ago, I was looking at office space and thinking, should I get an office? Should I get a team of employees? I've got enough leads coming into the business that I probably could spin up an agency tomorrow. But at the same time, I'm also home every night when my kids come home from school. We always have dinner together. I'm always there to put them down to bed at night. And I think I would really regret not having that relationship with my kids and my wife. And there comes a point where I have to make a decision, like how far do I want to take this? And I've come to a bit of a realization that it's like I like the lifestyle business. Do you know what I mean? I like working with the types of clients that I do. I'm really hands-on. If I got to a point in my career before I went freelance where I reached a level where I was like running a team of designers, and I'll be honest, I didn't really enjoy it. Like I was putting out fires all the time, constantly dealing with like HR issues and stuff like that, and I was doing less and less of the design work that I actually loved doing. And so that's when I quit and I went freelance and went freelance to try and pay the bills, to try and find something, and ended up realizing this freelance gig is unbelievable. I love it. Like I love the freedom of it. I love working with the clients that I like to work with, and I get to do the work. And I think that's the part that, I enjoy the most. I probably should be like creative director slash, CEO by now. I'm 41, but I just enjoy the work too much. I love doing it and I love being hands on with it. And that kind of, it's helped with the content, because I'm on the ground. I'm actually using the tools, I'm using the software. I could now, teach this stuff to people and teach people how to use Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop and all that kind of stuff. So it's totally played into the kind of other side of my business now, which is the education side. It's really worked.
The education side of your business is fantastic. I wish I could remember exactly which video of yours I came across first, but I just remember thinking there is so much of and I mean, I hadn't even met you, but I had such a good idea of what your personality was before I met you. And, for anyone who hasn't met you in real life, you are exactly the same
Absolute
person in your
dweeb,
videos as you are
goofball.
in real life.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. But also, you're right. It's on one sense an absolute marketing tool in terms of what you're seeing is what you're getting. And this is
Mhm.
a vibe check before you even have to, contact me.
Yeah,
You'll know if you get on
totally.
with me.
Yeah.
When did you realize that creating educational content for others and supporting other people in the industry was something that you really wanted to lean into?
Well, after that first viral video went out, and what I started doing was like I got so many leads from that first video. It was unbelievable. It was like 70 leads in a single day from one piece of content. I was like, this is mental. That's more leads than I've had in the previous 6 months combined. So I started doing it more to try and funnel more leads into the business. Oh, this is great. If I keep doing this, I can get clients in this way, and it's solving a massive problem for me. But while I was doing it, I started realizing like I'm actually becoming a better designer now. Like I'm learning way more than I ever did before by teaching this to other people. And I came to this like huge realization that which by the way, the medical industry has known for years. It's called see one, do one, teach one, right? So every time you do a procedure as a learning doctor, you see a procedure being done, you do one yourself the next time round, and then straight after that, you teach it to somebody else. And the teaching part of that process makes that stick in your brain. I've done loads of research on this. I did a talk about this at Adobe Max. It was called see one, do one, teach one. And like teaching other people makes you better, makes you remember stuff more, makes you, be able to present better in front of clients, solves problems when it actually comes to creating work. And I just thought, this is so fantastic. I'm absolutely adoring passing the knowledge on. And I get messages from, such a wide group of people. It's so satisfying. I get messages from junior designers who are just up and coming, who have no idea how to use the software and they love it. Yeah, and they're saying things like they're learning more from this kind of content, this online kind of content, which is so prevalent now, than they are from their actual studies. And then I get messages from older designers who've done things for such a long time in the same way for so long. They don't know about the newer tools. They don't know about what's coming out and the workflow efficiencies that they've been missing out on. And they'll see a piece of content from mine and go, I didn't know you could do that. And then immediately they've just saved themselves 5-10 minutes for, every little thing that they're doing in Adobe Illustrator. And honestly, teaching is the most rewarding thing ever. I love to do it. It's so self-serving. I don't really care about anybody else. I'm doing this for me. It's the most satisfying thing ever. And as a byproduct of it, it brings in clients. It's like the designers that are watching gain something, but the clients that are watching are learning what it's like to work with me as a designer. So it's the most self-serving thing ever. It's brilliant. I sound like an angel, but I'm just doing it for client leads, basically.
But you know what? I mean, amazing that you enjoy it, that it brings you joy and it's bringing you clients at the same time.
Yeah,
Like, it feels like the perfect package. And
it
as
is.
someone who, oh gosh, I think the last time, when you go to like Max and Adobe give out those little pin badges that are like how many
Yeah.
years you've used software for, I think I'm flicking between 25 and 30 when I pick up
Whoa.
those badges. But even so you put out a video that I think it's this week at time of recording, and it's a loosely Backstreet Boys themed piece about buttons and the changing of text. Now, I actually come from a graphic design background. I
Unhinged.
studied
Utterly
illustration, did
unhinged.
design,
Yeah.
and I didn't know you could do that with buttons. And it is one of the most
Right.
annoying things of my life. So, even someone who's 25 to 30 years into Adobe products, there are still things that you are hitting with that are relevant to the entire industry.
Yeah.
How has that switch been for you from putting out content on your socials, which is free to access for the most part, to launching designers? Because that was a shift for you in the last, I want to say 6 months ish.
Yeah. Yeah. August we launched last year. It's been amazing. It's so much fun. What I've put out. I've gone through like the whole transition to being a content creator from designer,
Hmm.
and I found it really hard as a slightly older designer to try and slot myself into this, world of influencers. Throwing up with that word, I hate that word. But as you know, as things have gone along, I've made some partnerships with some people, and I realized, let's try doing this kind of course content and see if I can actually sell some digital products here and make a bit of money from, selling courses. And I did it. I did the whole Adobe Illustrator course, and I did a small Photoshop one, and it was very lucrative. But you look at the analytics from those courses, and you go through and you see how many people have actually done them, and like 10% or something of people have actually completed the course from start to finish. And it's like, is this the best way for me to really be, to me to be doing this, for me to be teaching people? And so I spun up designers late last year as like a way to kind of for me to speak to other designers, because I'm so bloody lonely in this office. It's just me, I spend so long on my own all day. It's been nice to have a bit of bloody human connection, and B, to see if I can give a bit more back individually to people, rather than this kind of catch-all, here's a course from me, and nobody does it, and they'll pay for it and no one does it, which is it's such a letdown. It's to actually do a bit more one-on-one stuff, and we have I don't have like a massive amount of members. We've got like 200 members now, but we do all sorts of stuff in there. It's great fun. We have design challenges where I'll put a brief out to design a logo, and you can win things. Like we've given away like Toolbox Elite, these little peripheral, you know, macro pads for computers. We give away our next prize is like a year subscription to Field Notes. We've given away all sorts of stuff. And then we also have like a design review section in there as well, where I can give feedback on people's work. If they want to share their work before it goes to a client to kind of sense check it, which is, a rare thing, and they want to share it with other designers rather than their spouses, their girlfriends, their boyfriends, that kind of stuff. I can give a bit of feedback on them. And also I use it as well. I put my work in there to sort of show the behind the scenes of what's going on. And then we have guest speakers come in and they do little talks and all sorts of stuff. And then all that course content that I've been doing, I've just thrown into that community. So it's kind of like a free access thing when you sign up. And it's honestly, it's so much fun. I absolutely love it. Again, really self-serving. I'm getting paid to speak to designers. It's absolutely fantastic. But also like I've managed to like get a few contacts over the years. I've got some contacts at Adobe from partnerships that I've done, and now we have a deal on where like if you sign up to a year's subscription to the community, you get a free year of Adobe CC Pro subscription, which is worth like $800, and the
Mm.
yearly value of the community is less than that. Like it's like $200 less than that. So it's like printing money. It's unbelievable. It's one of the best deals I've ever negotiated in my entire life. But all I have to do
Do
now
you
is
know?
say designers powered by Adobe Express, and that's all I have to do. Brilliant. Sponsored by
I
Adobe
was
Express.
I was literally looking at the website yesterday preparing for this and saw that offer on there. And I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Pretty
If
good,
you're
isn't it?
using Creative, come join. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Too much
fantastic.
saved. It's so good.
I feel like there is a misconception that a huge number of social media followers equally immediately equates to a large bank balance. Whereas I feel like that's such a misconception. Can you talk to me about your experience of that?
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. It doesn't is the underlying answer to that. Yeah, it really doesn't. Look, if you it used to be, you get a lot of followers and it meant views on your videos. These days it doesn't. A million followers doesn't mean a million views on a video. You're starting from scratch with each piece of content that you do. And so you have to really work at it to kind of get any kind of views on it. And turning those viewers into paying customers is not easy to do. You really have to have your ducks in a row. So I do this in a few ways. Okay. So the reason I'm doing this is to generate leads for my business. And that's the absolute thing that I try to never forget, that the reason I started doing this was to get people to come to me as a logo designer. And so I can get bigger and better clients. I can do more work that I'm proud of, and I'll have a portfolio of work when I retire that I'm really ludicrously proud of. And I've worked with the clients that I want to work with. And what's happened is the second part of this whole social media game has been like the content creation, and there's been a few ways that I've managed to draw down some extra income from that. One of which is paid partnerships. So no surprises there. A brand like Adobe gets in touch and they want to sponsor one of your videos. That's a great way to make money, but that doesn't happen all the time. And if you do it too much, your audience gets pissed off and you're selling to them too often. And so there's a real line there that you can't cross. If you just sell all the time to your audience, they'll just disappear and nobody will look at your video. So I feel a bit icky when I do the promotional stuff. I do it because it's a total no-brainer. I'm already good teaching things like Adobe Illustrator to my audience. I may as well get paid sometimes for it. And that's totally fine. But I've got, I'm trying to remember why I'm doing this. I'm trying to generate leads for my business. I'm trying to generate income to my studio, and I'm using that, with the content. I'm doing that with the content that I'm producing. So yeah, it's not, it's not all, the money doesn't rain from the heavens when you get a million followers. You have to really, have your ducks in a row and get your funnels set up and decide like what you want to do with it. Do you want to sell to people constantly? Do you want to bring people into communities? Do you want to further your business? It's a weird sort of tricky line that you have to balance on.
How do you protect yourself from becoming obsessed with the metrics? How, like, where do you draw those lines for yourself that protect your inner peace and your mental health as a designer? Because living, I mean, and I say this, maybe you don't feel the same way, but personally, I feel like I'm chronically online. And so I
Yeah.
have to have some boundaries in there to make sure that, I'm doing okay. Have you put anything
Yeah.
in place for yourself around that?
A little bit. Like little things like I don't, muck about with my phone at the dinner table. That's a big one. I usually post like in the afternoon and then I'll go have dinner with the kids and then I'll check it afterwards. I used to be obsessed. I would post a video and then answer every single comment that came into that video, mainly because I thought that would like drive engagement. But I've just spotted over the years it doesn't really. If you can wait a bit, let the video trickle along and then put it out there. The one thing that is annoying is that if you don't post regularly, you start to lose followers. And that's when over a Christmas break, I didn't post for better part of like 2 weeks. I had some real time off, put my phone down and spent some time with the family. And I lost 1,000 followers on Instagram because I didn't post anything. And that's really depressing. I've worked really hard to build this audience. And if I don't post regularly, I'm losing followers, and it's kind of really annoying. So now I'm feeling the pressure of like, God, I've got to put something out every week without fail. And over the last few weeks, I've had loads of client work on. It's been really stressful in the business, and I'm thinking in the back of my head, like, goodness me, how am I going to find the time to put the content out there? But also, I've realized that I need to make the time to do it so that my business doesn't have this horrible sort of peaks and troughs of like you do loads of client work and then you do no marketing for your business, and then the client work dries up, and then you suddenly panicked because you've got no more leads coming in. You start doing the marketing again, and then the leads come back up, and it's like this constant like sine wave of death. And if you actually put time aside to do the content, a couple of hours every week, or maybe 4 or 5 hours in my case every week, to create 2 videos for social media, the client leads stay steady. And I'm not panicking at the end of those, client jobs when I've got nothing else coming in. I've got a steady stream of leads coming in that I can work on. The sales isn't always flat, and the wait list shrinks sometimes, and it comes in a little bit, sort of concertinas a bit. But at least I've got the leads coming in because I've been putting the effort into the content. So, yeah, it's tricky. You got to find a balance that is sustainable for you. You can't just like post every single day. You'll burn out. You have to find the right amount of content that you can fit into your lifestyle, and so that you actually enjoy doing it, and it's varied enough that you can kind of make content that is still kind of appealing to you, and then that way you won't burn out, you'll be happier for it, and the leads still kind of trickle in.
I want to pick up on that metric that you just said, 5 hours. That is a significant period of your week put
It
aside for
is.
marketing the business.
Yeah.
Have you always been strong on having, basically close to 20% of your working week as marketing? Or is that
Yeah.
something that you picked up sort of a few years in?
I picked that up. A content creator friend of mine, I talk about him all the time on podcasts, so sorry if you've heard this before, but it's a guy called Jamie Brindle, who is like the freelancer marketing guru. He's so good. During this like height of his TikTok fame, he said something that really stuck with me, and it was 50% of your time should be working on your current clients, and 50% of your time should be driving new business. So he divides his time in half. Now, I'm not as strict as that. I try to do that, but half your time driving business, and that can mean a lot of things. It can mean marketing. It can be doing an email newsletter. It can be doing videos for social media. It can be doing some outreach, responding to old leads, that kind of stuff. But you do need to make the time to do it. Otherwise, like I was saying before, you'll have this horrible peaks and troughs of like work not coming in. And I picked that up from Jamie. He's so, honestly, you should definitely check out his content if you haven't already. It's brilliant. Designers are terrible at selling. We're terrible at business. We're creative people. It didn't for me anyway. It's not second nature. I had to learn all this stuff through years and years of getting it wrong. And you totally, if you don't focus on your marketing, you don't just keep trying to bring people into your business and devote time to do it, those leads will dry up, and you'll have crickets, and your cash flow will suffer, and it's panicked, and then people start to like post on LinkedIn like, now taking bookings, and I'm free from April going forward, and you can feel the panic in their voice and see the whites of their eyes when they're on calls, and clients can sense that desperation.
Yes.
They know that you need this, you lose all of the negotiating power when those jobs are coming in. If I have a wait list that's 3 months long, I can say no to jobs, or I can go, sorry, I can't fit this in right now. And then the clients start to want to work with you, and the roles reverse, and then suddenly they're finding the budget that they didn't have before, and pushing other stuff back so you can book you in months in advance. And that's a powerful position to be in, and it takes a while to get there, but it's so much fun saying no to clients. Do you know what I mean?
And 100%. And I think also it's working through that discomfort of, finding the right clients. And sometimes your to-do list is a bit shorter than perhaps you would like, but
Yeah.
that you're right, the desperation when it really matters shows, and it's having that perseverance to go through. And we have to put money on the end of the table at the end of the day. Like, people need food, people need to eat, a roof over their heads. Keeping strong in those moments can actually benefit you rather than throwing it out there. Has there
Yeah.
ever been a period for you where you've had to resist every urge to post online, like, I need work?
Yeah. Look, mainly it comes from case studies. I think like case studies are the most powerful thing to post online, right? So I look, I'm totally guilty of posting on LinkedIn now, taking bookings, and I made a little animated
Same.
GIF with my logo and like flashing in neon saying, I'm ready for taking bookings, and the clients just like, ugh, it's just like it's a desperate move, and they don't they don't want to see the fact that you're free and available and no one wants to work with you. They want to see the work that you've done, and that you're proud of and that you've just done for a huge client. And so, if you can get clever with your case studies and show a bit of behind the scenes about what it's like to work with you, then those work so well. Like, they're unbelievable. Whenever I finish a project now, I make a video case study about like what it was like, how the client found me, the problems that they were facing, the rounds of amends that we did along the way, and then the final output. And if you can frame that in a story, so you're telling a story about how you work with this client, they work so well. And then again, if your funnel's good, did you like this? Go check out my website for more images from this project. It used to be like you would go on Instagram and post like 6 or 7 photos of the mock-ups from the project and go, check out my work. And no one gives a toss and it bombs. But the second I started making video content about it and like telling that story and like, so this client came to me and they had a problem and we did this, this, and this, and these were the rounds of amends that I did. And we got to this final project. How cool is that? And people love that. Like, it's such a nicer way to digest your portfolio than being spoon-fed some mock-up images or, just a random sort of blog post that doesn't go anywhere. If you can tell a story, it just works so much better and it brings in way more leads.
Do you think your definition of success has changed over time?
Uh, no, it's financials totally. I'm so self-centered, and the more money I make, the more successful I am. Look, honestly,
Love
that's
that
been
as an
true
honest
because of
answer.
yeah. Look, fuck it. Success is massively tied financially for me, and like the social media stuff has been able to help with that. Like, also, like within the business, the bigger and better clients that I can work with, I want to leave something behind. I realized, a couple of years back that I don't want to leave behind like a legacy of nerdy design videos. I want to leave behind like a body of work that I'm really proud of, like better paying clients, bigger, more high profile clients. And the way that I've been able to start to attract those is with the content. So that's, trying to remember that has been the most important part for me. Like, not trying to be an influencer, but trying to use this video content to try and really drive those leads and to further my actual business. And then, I can be proud as punch when I actually get to meet other designers and show them my work. And I won't feel like I'm comparing myself to them, which, like we were talking before, is the thief of joy.
Absolutely. We've talked a lot about comparison. We've talked about happiness, pursuing legacy, which I think is an incredible term. I'd love to maybe revisit this at some time and do
Yeah.
an entire subject on legacy, because I think as
Yeah.
creatives, it is actually just a really important, vital part of what we do that I think any of us massively talk about in general.
I think
What
it's something you
would a
start
perfect
realizing. Sorry to interrupt, but it's something you start realizing the more old you get. When you start to realize that there's an end to this, and like, am I going to do this forever? What am I going to leave behind? Is it going to be, a body of work? Is it going to be a team of people that I leave a business to? What is that end goal going to be? And I don't want to get like, too dark or anything, but there is going to be an end to this one day. And when that happens, I want to be proud of what I've left to the world. It might be education, it might be with the logos, but honestly, I need to. I want to make sure that what I leave behind is something that I'm proud of.
I wholeheartedly agree. It's something that I've actually been leaning on a lot in my business as well. And as someone who is child free, mostly by choice, I would say, it's something that I'm aware of that, when my time on the planet comes, I don't potentially have the next 2 or 3 generations following me down below saying, like Tiggs was great. So what am I leaving behind? And it's how I made people feel and beautiful
Yeah,
images that stand the test of time that don't get lost to the world. So
that's
in
awesome.
your logo design work, where does your legacy, what is that hitting for you that makes you feel so proud to do logo design work? Because I know meaning is very important to how you choose a client.
Yeah. I mean, it's when I design a brand for someone, a visual identity, I want them to be proud of it first and foremost. And the pride for me comes with like checking, their website 5 years later, and they're still using the work. and they haven't changed it. And the logo that we designed is going to stand that test of time. Like you were saying with your photography, you put that artwork out there in a world in a way that it's going to kind of last forever. It's not following a trend. It's not kind of like sticking to, following some kind of news story. It's something that's going to last. And that it's a hard thing to do with design. You have to design without trends. You have to design to stand the test of time. There's ways to do it within logo design. But for me, it's like I want my clients to be proud. And that really comes by putting meaning behind the designs. If you can incorporate something into their logo that has some kind of backstory or some kind of meaning to them, or like a bit behind like how their business got started, it means way more to them than if it's just kind of pretty and it looks stylish. If you can put a bit of story into the design, that really, really works. So when I'm asking questions with clients, I'll be asking like, tell me about like the backstory behind your business. What's the name mean? Like, where did this all come from? And if we can come up with something like a concept that ties into that, it works so much better. And so that they're the ones that are going to be like staring at this design for the length of their business every single day. They've got to feel proud of it. They've got to be proud to hand over that business card. And that's something I really strive to do with my clients. And it's that feeling for me, when they're proud of it, and you get that lovely testimonial at the end of the project and said that it was fun to work with me. That's the most satisfying thing ever. It's unreal.
Absolutely. For someone who's coming into this industry, what would you want them to focus on if they really want to enjoy and not just succeed in their career?
Well, I reckon don't niche down too soon. I've seen a lot of designers that just come straight out of school or whatever and dive straight into a specific part of the business. I think you should try it all. Like I did absolutely everything in my career. I've done print design, I've done digital design, I've done a bit of animation, done, web design, bit of coding, video editing. I've done a lot. And it took a while to figure out what I was that I got the most enjoyment from, which turned out to be logo design and visual identity. But it takes a while to figure that out. So if you put yourself into a corner immediately when you start, you're never going to know. And I think it just comes from another thing as well. It's just like get yourself into a job where you can learn from other people and sit next to other designers and watch how they work. There's no substitute for a bit of free education from your colleagues. Sitting next to people who are good at what they do, learning from them. That's free. That's free education. You can if you have a job like that where you work with other creatives, you get paid to learn. It's a no-brainer. And I was really lucky in my career. I had some really supportive people along the way who, dipped their toes in when it was needed and gave me some great advice. And yeah, I've been really, really, really fortunate to kind of end up starting my own thing at the time in my life when I was kind of ready for it.
And for those who have been listening today and maybe need a bit more James in their life, where can they find you online? How do they sign up for your course? Where do they find your content?
All right. Well, my website, if you're a client and you want to work with me, is barnard.co. And all of my socials are at Barnard Co. And if you want to join the community, it's designers with 3Rs.com. Powered by Adobe Express, of course, I have to say that. Yeah, come on board there, come and have some fun. There's all sorts of stuff to do in that community. It's an absolute blast. Yeah, so check me out at those links, and hopefully I'll see you there.
I will make sure all of those links are in the show notes. So for
Thank
anyone
you.
who has been watching, know that you can just scroll down a little bit and find all of that information ready to go. James, it has been such a pleasure. I have been so excited to catch up with you. Hopefully
Thank you.
next time you're on UK soil or I'm over visiting family, we can do the in-person version of this.
Absolutely.
It would
Absolutely.
be great to follow up. For anyone watching at home, if this has resonated, please follow, subscribe, share, comment, do all the things that let us know that you're enjoying this. And if you know any designers out there that might benefit from having access to some of James's incredible, and I do mean incredible, I watch all of them, videos, do point to socials as well. Just remember, you are not broken. You are just finding your user manual. And I will be back next week with another episode.